Live from Los Angeles here on this Sunday morning, you know you are watching Breaking Box Office as we get the numbers and we go live with them the moment they come in, and we have a back-to-back champion here this weekend. Not really a surprise to see the Swifties owning the top spot again with $31 million. Now that's down 67%. I mean, you got to figure it was going to fall precipitously because of the fact that so many people ran out to see it opening weekend. And it's roughly 3 hours long, so you're asking people a lot to go back and see it again, although I guarantee there's a ton of repeat viewings going on with that number, that 31, because, listen, there's not a lot going on at the box office right now. You have Killers of the Flower Moon, we'll discuss in a moment, but these are two totally different films, obviously. Do you think young girls are going to see Killers of the Flower Moon? So one of the reasons that film struggled this weekend, we discuss it in moments, but again, she takes the top spot with 31 million. Let's get into it with Killers of the Flower Moon because this is a disappointing debut. There's no other way to spin this. When you look at an Oppenheimer at over $80 million, now I am fully aware that you had the Barbenheimer effect definitely heavy on that film, and that's what helped propel it to that level that no one expected that film to get. Initial projections on Oppenheimer were in the 50s, and it pushed to 80 because of the fact that so many people went to go see Barbie and then made it a mission to also go check out Oppenheimer. And I think some of that audience, the younger audience, went to see Oppenheimer, right, because of that whole Barbenheimer thing. Also, Nolan tracks better with younger audiences than Scorsese does. But you're going to sit here and tell me that Oppenheimer at $80+ million for a debut, and then we're looking at Killers of the Flower Moon at $23 million stateside. And before you start coming in here and saying this, and that, let me explain a few things about this. First of all, it had the PLF screens. It had the IMAX and the Dolby. Now, I know some theaters were sharing it with Taylor Swift, the IMAX, but you can't say that Killers didn't have that PLF advantage. Some films don't have that. We saw Mission Impossible get raked because of that. Raked, I said, not raped, thank you. And as we look at that number, it suffered because of the PLF omission. Now, this time around, you've got it. But here's what's going against the film. It's so obvious, right? I know there's comments in here right now. I'll pull up a few. You're all saying it's 3.5 hours long. Not even a question. That is the biggest strike against Killers of the Flower Moon. When you are trying to schedule essentially a 4-hour block of time, right, to get to the theater, to sit through the previews, then to watch the movie, that is a ton. That's a big commitment. And I think a lot of people were scared off by that runtime. I think one of the takeaways we'll discuss here tonight on the Sunday Night Spectacular is the fact that we need to really get a handle on these runtimes. I don't care if it's Scorsese. I don't care if it's Nolan, whoever the director is. We need to get control of these runtimes again because you're scaring audiences off. I went to go see Nightmare Before Christmas, which did really well this weekend, like $4.1 million for just free cash for Disney. It was an hour and 16 minutes long. It was so refreshing to go to a movie and be out of there in an hour and a half. You can't beat that. And I think that these directors need to go back to the old way of doing things, which is the theatrical cut, the director's cut. It's how we've always done it. I don't know why we're doing it differently now. I can tell you why. Because the streamers got involved and they let directors do whatever they want. We have to have some level of control. You have to. I know that the directors out there watching this are going, no, you need control. You need somebody who's smart to say, listen, we got to bring this in. Bring it in 45 minutes. Bring it in Killers of the Flower Moon. You can tell that story in 2.5. I have no question about that. Let's go through the numbers internationally, and I'll tell you where the film did. It did another 21 overseas. This is kind of interesting to look at the details on Killers when you look at the 21 million overseas, number one in 24 markets, including France, Germany, Australia, Spain, Netherlands, and Switzerland. For a like-for-like basis, excluding previews, it's on par with Ford versus Ferrari, above The Imitation Game. Man, we're going way back. Captain Phillips, we're going back. And House of Gucci, it's above those. the widest release ever for a Scorsese film, and it did best in the UK, 3 million, France 2.6, Germany 1.6 million. We'll talk more about Killers of the Flower Moon and what happened to this film. I think the number one takeaway that Apple needs to know for this coming few weeks, okay, is they start to plant their theatrical flag here with Killers of the Flower Moon and soon Napoleon. You can't just dump this thing on streaming in a week or two. That is the wrong signal. Don't do that, Apple. We'll discuss that longer, more extended version of what I'm discussing here tonight on this Sunday Night Spectacular, but that would be a big mistake because then audiences are like, fine, we'll just wait. You don't want that to happen. You're going to suffer if that does happen. Okay, let's go to the top 10 box office. We have Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour at number 1, down 67%. Let me make it bigger for you guys. And then we have Killers of the Flower Moon at 23 million. That was 6,340 on the average, and that's okay. It's not great. Okay, because it was on, let's see what the total was, 3628. It wasn't like on 2,000 screens. If it had 23 millions on 2,000 screen, then you're talking about a much better average per location. Exorcist Believer is stuck at 54 million, down another 50% this weekend. I believe it's over 100 international total, right, worldwide. Paw Patrol in 4th with 50+ million. Night Before Christmas is in 5th, 4.1. Saw X, Creator, Leo, Bloody Sweet. The hell is that? I don't even know what that is. I'll do the research look later. I see everything in theaters. I didn't see Leo, Bloody Sweet. Haunting in Venice, and then The Blind, the faith-based film. How much has that movie made? $15 million. Almost $16 million. Couple comments, and then we're out of here. And I guarantee you guys are all, it's 3.5 hours long. Exactly. A lot of people I talk to who are not huge movie fans, just regular, average, run-of-the-mill moviegoers. We're like, I don't want to watch a 3.5-hour movie. And I think that, you say Oppenheimer at 3. Well, listen, that's still 25 minutes shorter because I think it's like 3:26 for Killers. That's so much to ask of an audience, man. I saw it a couple Thursdays ago, and while I can tolerate a long runtime, it could definitely be told shorter. And I think that was a big problem with this weekend. The other issue was simply that it's Apple, and I think a lot of people thought that this film would be on streaming in a few weeks. And that's why I say, Apple, don't do it. If you do that, you're going to sabotage your entire theatrical effort that you put billions into. You need to hold this until Christmas. The story is depressing, 100%. I mean, the movie's not an uplifting film, but I mean, is Oppenheimer more entertaining, but it was still good? Yeah, I mean, there's no question that Oppenheimer was benefited greatly by Barbie. Same date. Plus, summertime, not fall, no football. There's so many things to discuss about Killers of the Flower Moon. What happened? We'll do the box office autopsy tonight on MMT. We're back here about 8:30 here on the West Coast, 11:30 on the East Coast. Until then, Breaking Box Office is closed for the weekend.